So in this video, I'll be talking about some of my all-time favorite fragrances. Hi everyone, I'm Jolima and this is my channel, Scented Moments, where we discuss everything about perfumes. So in this video, I have here 13 of my all-time favorite fragrances, like of all time. And some of these are discontinued. Again, this is a very personal list. And these fragrances, I will not be ranking them in a specific order. I just love them equally. And I will definitely do a part 2 of this on this topic. So without further ado, let's first start this list with the first being from the house of Puredistance, and it is Puredistance M. Discontinued, unfortunately. Now there is a fragrance that came to replace this. So this one was created by Rosendo, and the fragrance that came to replace M, it's called MV2Q, if I'm not mistaken. It was created by Antoine Lee. Quite different from M. Still a leather fragrance, but a very different take on the leather, more woodsy and definitely not spicy fragrance. This one is it's a fragrance that takes a lot of inspiration from Bel Ami by Hermès. You also have Fetish by the brand Rosendo, which is also quite heavily inspired by Bel Ami. But I adore this one. It's the only fragrance that I have from Puredistance brand. I definitely do want to add a couple more to my collection, Black and Aenotus. But for now, I'm really happy with M. I have M for many years now, and it's just to die for. I mean, when you compare this with with the current version of Bel Ami, I do prefer this one. This one feels thicker, darker, a bit more edgier. It's very spicy, more incensey, more dark, quite leathery, a bit dry, and it's a very chic fragrance. And I had so many good feedback when I wore this one. The performance is fantastic. This is an extrait de parfum. I just adore this one. It's M by Puredistance for me, although it's not original, but still a masterpiece of a perfume. The next fragrance, this is from house of Rosendo Mateu, and it is 5. Another fragrance that I have for years now, since 2018 actually, when this was released. This was Love at First Sniff. It's the only fragrance that I have from Rosendo Mateu brand. I actually would like to have 3 more fragrances from the brand, but this one is my favorite actually. And Rosendo Mateu released the Elixir version of 5, but I still prefer the original. Now this one is a white floral, like a bit jasmine fragrance, a bit of tuberose as well, but I would say that it's more it has more of an indolic jasmine quality. You have the amber, you have vanilla, you have musk, and it's just brilliant fragrance. Right here you can see the dent. I mean, massive dent here. My fiance also adores this one. This fragrance actually kind of set a trend as well within this scent character. I mean, nowadays you have Baby Cat by Yves Saint Laurent from the Le Vestiaire. You have Laboratorio Faltivo called Vanagloria. And you have a couple of other fragrances that are quite similar to Rosendo Mateu's 5. But this is where it all started. I think Baby Cat is the most popular within the scent DNA, but this is where it all started. Rosendo Mateu 5, I love this one. And I will still say that the Baby Cat by Yves Saint Laurent, it's more heavy in the vanilla, whilst here it's more ambery and more musky. And I would say it's also a bit more sparkly here. Oh, I love it. Oh, the memories. Oh, the memories. I love to wear this during summer nights, actually. Love this one. Rosendo Mateu 5, one of my all-time favorite fragrances in the end. Now the next fragrance, this was discontinued and now it's not. This was re-released last year from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian, and it is Absolue pour le Soir. This is the original bottle, but I still didn't try the newer one, but a lot of people say that it smells very close to the original, maybe some minor tweaks that was made in the newer version, but overall it's the same scent. So I just would advise you to go with the newer fragrance, the new version of Absolue pour le Soir. So this one is an animalic ambery fragrance, and this is not your typical like sweet, resinous, syrupy type of amber. This is more of dry, this is more animalic, it's more rough type of amber with some spices. Oh yeah, this is not for everyone. Great scent nonetheless. You also have another fragrance that it's quite similar to this one, or at least heavily inspired. It's from Francesca Bianchi, and the fragrance is called Dark Side. I have that one, adore it. I would say that that one is even a bit more animalic than Absolue pour le Soir, but it's within this genre, within this spicy, animalic, ambery genre, which I would highly recommend you to try it if you have yet to, and if you are into this type of scent character. Man, I love this one. My favorite from Maison Fraises Crucian. It's Absolue pour le Soir. The next fragrance from the house of Profumum Roma, and I could mention so many fragrances from the brand. I mean, you might know already that Profumum Roma is my favorite brand, perfume brand overall. So this is just an example. I could have mentioned many more from this house. This one is Sorriso. Sorriso is one of the best, if not the best, chocolate fragrance out there. More specifically, chocolate pudding with a bit of an orange peel on top. It's exactly how it smells, incredibly realistic. It has a natural smelling feeling to it. It has a nice dose of vanilla as well. Another fragrance that my fiance adores. You can see the dent here. I mean, I have almost 600 fragrances. So for a fragrance to have this dent, it means that I really appreciate it. The performance is fantastic. After all, this is an extrait, and it's a gourmand lover's dream come true, really. It's mouth-watering, it's decadent, perfect for date nights, very alluring. Just do yourself a favor, try this one if you have yet to. It's Sorriso by Profumum Roma. Now the next fragrance, this is already a more than a classic. It was extremely hyped way back when I blind bought this one. It's from the house of Serge Lutens. It's been a while since I featured a Serge Lutens fragrance. I actually do enjoy the brand. I have a few fragrances from the brand. I mean, around 5, 6 fragrances from Serge Lutens. And yeah, this was my first Serge Lutens fragrance, and it is Chergui. And I love Chergui. I mean, you can see I already wore this a few times now. And Chergui, I mean, look at the color of the liquid. This burgundy, very dark color. And Chergui is a tobacco scent, and it's a reference in terms of tobacco fragrances. You have the hay, you have the spices, you have an ambery nuance here as well. And it's just brilliant. It's so unique, such a unique fragrance. It's one of those fragrances where you can detect it and you can recognize it immediately for being so unique, so original, and you don't have any other fragrance that smells close to this one, I would say. It's fantastic scent, Chergui. And like I was saying, when I bought this one, and again, like 7 years ago at least, this was still hyped. A lot of people were talking about this one as a reference in terms of tobacco. Nowadays, I mean, barely anyone talks about Serge Lutens even, let alone Chergui. But if you're into tobacco fragrances, I would definitely recommend you to try Chergui. Now, this is the previous version. This is not a vintage. The vintage version of Chergui, like even the color of the liquid is a bit more of a dark green color. This one is more of a dark burgundy color, and the new version, like the sticker, is completely different. So this version is in between, and it's beautiful. And the current version, it's still great. I think it's in good shape, to be honest. It's still very close to at least the version that I have. So I would just recommend you to go with the newer version. I still think it's a stunning tobacco fragrance nowadays, a bit underrated. It's Chergui by Serge Lutens. The next fragrance, this is from House of Xerjoff, and it's from the Join the Club collection, More Than Words. This one right here. More Than Words, and this is a 100 ml. It just shows how much I love this one. I have this one already for a very long time, and this was my first experience with a rose oud fragrance. And this is like a very jammy, spicy rose, ambery rose with oud. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's a scent character that nowadays is, it's really very popular. I mean, you have so many rosewood fragrances that smell like this, but back then, I mean, don't forget, this was released in 2012. And I think around that time, if I'm not mistaken, and I just experienced this one around 2017, 2018, between those years. And it was love at first sniff. Now, I don't consider this like a masterpiece of a fragrance, but for me, it's still a reference in terms of rosewood fragrances, especially this type of character, this scent type of rose oud. It's a reference for me, and it's a fragrance that I will always cherish, and I will always have a special place in my collection for More Than Words. Not a masterpiece, but still a reference to me. It's a great, nonetheless, great rose oud fragrance. More Than Words, great performance. I already received so many good feedback while wearing this one. Yeah, I would say it's one of the best from Xerjoff, More Than Words, from the Join the Club collection. The next fragrance sadly discontinued, and it's been rumored now for a few years now, a couple of years at least, that the brand would re-release this one as part of their signature collection, but so far there's no confirmation on that. It's from Tom Ford, and the fragrance is Plum Japonais. Plum Japonais, it's one of my all-time favorites, especially from Tom Ford. I would never imagine that they would discontinue this one. This smells so good. And it was considered by many as one of their best, very best. I don't know why they discontinued this one. I mean, maybe sales were not great, or maybe there was a chemical or a note, a material that was banned. I don't know, but this one is fantastic, and I'm fortunate enough to have the gold batch code, which indicates that this is like a vintage formulation. Plum Japonais, as the name implies, it has a fantastic dose of plum. Now, this is a very juicy, dark, heavy plum with spices, incense, leather, and oud. It's so mysterious, so dark, so alluring, great performance, and it's just out of this world. I wore this so many times while going out. Brings good memories, also different times, and it's one that I will always cherish, and one that I just adore since day one, really. A shame that they discontinued. Hopefully they will bring back someday, hopefully. It's Plum Japonais by Tom Ford. The next fragrance, also another discontinued one, and this one it's very special. This whole line is very special to me, and it's from the house of Mugler, and it is Pure Malt. Pure Malt. The good memories. You see the dent here. But I have this one, I mean, for at least 8 years. I have this one even before I started my channel. I believe that this was my very first blind buy. It was either this one or Pure Vin. One of these were my first blind buy. Those were the days. This was so hyped. This and Pure Vin, these two were the main popular fragrances from Mugler back then, and this represents to me a different time, both fragrance community and my own journey wise. You don't have designer fragrances releasing and making scents like this anymore. Simply, you don't. This is still one of my all-time favorite boozy fragrances. This was my first ever boozy fragrance. It was the first time I tried like a whiskey fragrance, which is the case here. I have whiskey, dried fruits, patchouli. It's beautiful, beautiful. This is 100 ml. The price back then, it was 40 euros. Nowadays it's incredibly expensive. Don't go with the current price in online discounters or Facebook groups or whatever. Just don't. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. 200 euros plus. It's just not. Because that's the price that it's going for nowadays. So designer fragrances, designer brands don't create perfumes like this. It's really sad how things happen, especially regarding to Mugler. I mean, I love the line. The line was so unique with the original Amen, which I have, pure malt, pure Havane, pure wood, pure tonka, one of the best tonka bean fragrances ever, in my view, which I have, pure energy, previously called pure shot, ultra zest. I mean, really, such a unique brand and a unique line. And unfortunately, all of them were discontinued. Now we just have the original Amen, and last year it was released Amen Phantasm, which is really a poor smell, very poor fragrance. But in the end, that's what we should expect from L'Oréal, because Mugler was bought by L'Oréal, and L'Oréal is where the brands go to die, literally. You have many conglomerates, LVMH, you have Estée Lauder, you have Puig, many conglomerates, but the worst of them all is L'Oréal. If a brand is purchased by L'Oréal, forget about it. It's done, and that brand is done. It will stop being relevant. I don't know why they do that. For some reason, I don't know, but it's just a fact. At least to my view, it's just my opinion. Again, it's just my own opinion. But and that's what happened with Mugler. They just butchered this line, and unfortunately it's gone. But I'm happy to, and I'm fortunate enough to have still pure malt, pure Havane, and all the others. So yes, and this one is really one of my all-time favorite boozy fragrances. It's Pure Malt by Mugler. The next fragrance, another discontinued fragrance from the house of Gucci, my favorite tea fragrance to this day. My favorite tea-based scent, Gucci Pour Homme 2. And this is 100 ml. Man, I love this bottle. It's so heavy, and the cap is so heavy as well. And I just love like the presentation, like the bottle, the color of the liquid that matched with this golden style cap. Love it. But the scent, it's even better. This is like a smoked black tea with cinnamon, with tons of violet. It's just to die for. I adore this one. It's the one of the most realistic, natural smelling tea fragrances. The performance is fantastic on my skin, lasts the entire day, great projection. It's such a zen, calming fragrance, but yet chic at the same time. It's very a shame that Gucci discontinued this one. Yeah, but well, it is what it is. I have a few tea-based fragrances like Russian tea, the Rôle Noir by Guerlain, many others, but this one still remains my favorite. It was my first tea-based scent, and still to this day remains as my favorite tea fragrance. And I have this policy of no backup bottles, but I think I would add an exception with Gucci Pour Homme 2 if I would catch a nice price for this one. I think I will buy it, but well, we will see. I will not as well. I'm not in a rush for that. Just if I find it, then I will grab it. That's how much I love this one, Gucci Pour Homme 2. The next fragrance discontinued. I'm sorry, I know, not great, but this one you can still find in the online discounters. It's still out there because it was just recently discontinued from the house of Guerlain. It was part of the Les Absolue d'Orient, and this one is Encens Mythique. Now, this was discontinued when Guerlain revamped this line last year, actually, and they passed this line, Les Absolue, for the Aqua Allegoria, so now it's called Les Absolue d'Allegoria, if I'm not mistaken. The bottle is also very different, more close to the Aqua Allegoria bottles, and they discontinued a couple of them. It was Encens Mythique and Bois Mystérieux. And two fragrances that for me, those two were the best of the line. It's usually, that's how it is. They always discontinue the best, unfortunately. And Encens Mythique, it was my first fragrance from this line. I purchased this retail. It was love at first sniff back in 2018. I mean, I could not believe what I was smelling. It was that good. And it was my first experience smelling pure, natural ambergris, because it's what this one has. natural ambergris, which is like this very buttery, salty, oceanic, dark, animalic nuances that it's just magical. You need to experience yourself. It's really fantastic. And then you have this rose with aldehydes that add more, an extra flair, elegance, sparkliness, just a wonderful, wonderful fragrance. Unfortunately discontinued, but again, still available out there. I would definitely advise you to grab it if you are interested in it. But yes, Encens Mythique by Guerlain, man, a true masterpiece of a perfume. The next fragrance, not discontinued, still available, from the house of Stephane Humbert, and this one is Black Gemstone. Now, Black Gemstone is one, and this is a fingerprint magnet, by the way, like that's why it's a bit dirty, and I apologize for that. But Black Gemstone, it's a resin bomb, really. This is all about myrrh, opopanax, incense with lemon, tons of lemon on top, which then fades away into this heavy, dark, resinous myrrh incense fragrance. Natural smelling myrrh in here. I adore this one. I mean, really, the color of the bottle kind of suggests how this smells. That dark with this ambery light ingredient here, which represents like the lemon, but it's like opposite, because this one is very bright and effervescent on top with the lemon, that then turns into a very heavy, resinous, dark, incensey fragrance. Love this one. One of my most complimented fragrances ever. Also, Black Gemstone is something else, really. If you are into resinous fragrances, you need to try this one. I could have mentioned other fragrances from the brand actually that I adore, but yes, Black Gemstone deserves the mention. And the next fragrance, this is a more than classic from the house of Any Tower. It is L'air du désert Marocain. Now, this one, it has a huge dent. I already wore this one a lot of times, but I purchased this one back in 2017. This was my very first purchase at Embassy Niche Perfumery store. You all know about the store. I mean, I already filmed an interview with Ricardo, the founder of the store, and a very good friend of mine. I already did a video with Raquel as well. She works there, and a very good friend also. And we talked about the best winter fragrances. And maybe stay tuned for a couple more videos that I will record inside the store. But L'air du désert Marocain, I mean, it's a reference in terms of amber. It's a dry, spicy, ambery fragrance. And it's really mind-blowing how come Any Tower managed to capture that dry, arid, the sandy air of the Moroccan desert. It's really amazing. It's amazing because I've been there. I've been in the Moroccan desert, and it's really spot on. How good this one is. Oh, magical. This one is a true masterpiece of a fragrance. I also have Au Cours du Désert, which is more resinous, a bit more thick, more heavy, less spicy. This one is a bit more airy, a bit more dry, but nonetheless both are full bottle worthy, and I highly advise you to try. This one is that type of fragrance that you must try at least once in your lifetime. And last but by no means least, I mean, I think you all know what fragrance I will mention. It's Dior Homme Parfum, of course. I mean, I broke my no backup bottle rule thanks to Dior Homme Parfum, so of course I needed to mention this one. Heavy iris, tons of suede, rose, woods. I mean, very dark, heavy fragrance. Such a high quality perfume. This could easily be part of a Dior Privé fragrance. And we were fortunate to have this one available until this year as a mainstream designer fragrance. It was a good ride. Fortunately, I have this backup. I have my original 75 ml bottle back in Vilnius, Lithuania, so I'm set with Dior Homme Parfum, fortunately. A masterpiece of perfume. Fortunate to have this backup. Guys, Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what are some of your favorite, all-time favorite fragrances. If you find value in this video, hit the like button, subscribe, check out all the other fragrance contents that I have available, and see you in the next one. Okay, take care guys. Ciao.